is in good form.
She is skiing very well. 11th fastest ski speed in the mass start, and as you can see already, that pace being taken by Breza Boucher trying to hurt the field, but Hauser deciding that she's quite capable of staying with. On the other hand, Simon Eder, although shooting very well and fast, he is struggling with his form on the ski speed, and that will only be exacerbated by these slow conditions.
When we talk about good performances here in this event in Pokljuka, I have to mention Estonia as well, taking a surprise silver medal in the 2019-20 season race here, and that remains their only single mixed relay podium on the World Cup. But the same duo, Regina Ermetz and Renée Zachner, used it again today, and very much like Lisa Toulouse Hauser and Simon Eder, just synonymous when it comes to the duo used for Estonia in these single mixed relay races.
I love this shot where you can really see how the snow has been impacted by the conditions recently, and it's very slushy. That can create very unbalanced and unstable corners. We can expect to see some falls if later on in the race those tired legs are unable to withstand the challenge of the course and the rivets that are dug into this slushy snow.
Yeah, particularly around the more technical parts of this course, Scott. We've seen it over the course of the last couple of days. Some of those bends, even when the athletes are going in the races where they're split by 30 seconds and going in those increments, it has been some nervy moments. And well, then you look at this big pack that's still travelling mostly together, with Justine Bressard-Boucher continuing to push the pace. You imagine there'll be a few heart in your mouth moments when they take on some of the bends.
Absolutely. And Tandrevold, she's made her way up towards the front in third place, 1.6 seconds back of Justine Bressard-Boucher. And Tandrevold, of course, being so good on the skis, a bit up and down lately, but on the range, I can expect to see her struggle in the stand. Here's one of the fastest corners. You can see already how tough it is just by the way that these biathletes have their arms out wide, followed by a really aggressive snowplow, and that meaning that the track is fast and these corners are very technical.
Such a contrast, isn't it, Scott, to what we saw earlier on in the week. It was, to some maybe, I'm certainly looking at it right at the start of the week, Monday, Tuesday, surprised that we even got the level of racing that we did. The IVU taking the right precautions to have Friday away from the track, training cancelled, and just really giving an opportunity for the course to recover. And well, today we had a very slow track on Thursday. Today, sheer contrast as the snow, the sleet continues to fall. The athletes into the range for the first time. 2 shooting stages per leg, alternating between the men and the women, with the men bringing it home, anchoring the teams today. Athletes shooting on their bib numbers. Norway, Finland first to start, and misses now for Switzerland, Finland, France, Norway away. Great start for Tandrevold. Austria too, Lisa Toulouse Hauser breaking the position and joining Tandrevold. Ukraine 5 for 5, as are now Sweden, Finland, 1 extra round use, same for Switzerland, France, as Justine Bressard-Boucher gets away. Germany left having to dip not just once, twice now into the extra rounds, and this will be the last opportunity to stay out of the loop for Grossian, and she does. Ermetz will find herself in the same position. And it is once around the penalty loop for Estonia.
Very good start for USA, and Irwin doing very well to get all the targets down, and has the benefit also of being partnered with Campbell Wright, who is showing his form increasingly by the race, and we can expect to see something from them today.
That's around the penalty loop goes Regina Ermetz. 75-metre penalty loop, you can see shortened there.
Now just taking a look at Breza Boucher's shooting up close. That second shot up on the top right of the target. It's not a theme. In fact, it looks more so that the shots are falling to the bottom left, so that miss on target 2, top right, was something of an anomaly. The next shot falling in the center, so no feedback for Breza Boucher in terms of needing to adjust her 0. Just an inaccurate shot on that one occasion.
So pushing the pace at the front, Ingrid Landmark-Sandervold in the snood, followed by the very similarly coloured kit with the Austrian Lisa Theresa Hauser. Suvi Minkkinen leading the charge behind.
And Breza Boucher is deciding that she needs to close down the gap. She will do so on the skis. And relative to Tandrevold, she is skiing faster if yesterday's anything to go by. 30 seconds separating them in the mass start just in ski speed alone. And that's with Breza Boucher skiing faster.
Also having to close the gap on the skis is Selina Glossier, leaving shooting 1 down in 19th, 20.5 seconds off the pace. And you can see her and the German kit, the orange of the bottom of the leg just coming into the frame and trying to get onto this pack that are pursuing Tandrevold and Hauser.
One of the key challenges in a race like this is actually running your own race, your own pace. Minkkinen now showing in yesterday's form that she isn't quite there in terms of ski speed, but yet managing to really hold this pace. And I think that will cause some damage, particularly in the stand shooting or in the second leg that each biathlete has to run.
Oh, she set such a high standard for herself this season, Suvi Minkkinen, after bursting onto the podium on home snow in Kontiolahti. Managed to stay so consistent, so regularly in the top 10. She still finds herself 9th in the overall World Cup standings. And of course, has in her draw a medal at the World Championships as well. So hard to sustain that though, Scott. You look at biathlon as a sport on the whole, there's so few other sports that demand this level of endurance week in, week out from the athletes, and it's totally understandable that at some point there will be a drop-off of form.
Absolutely, especially when you're relying on 2 such intense components, as we see the smiling face there from those magnets. The psychology of shooting is so energy intensive, as we're about to see that put fully to the test now on shoot number 2.
So the Austrian head coach flashing a smile on the zeroing board. Can Lisa Theresa Hauser respond in the first of her standing shoots? It's Austria who gets off the mark first, and quick shooting from Hauser. Now a miss, 2 misses from Norway, 3 now for Ingrid Landmark-Sandervold. A struggling start for Switzerland as well. France with a miss. Wow. It's at least once around the penalty loop for Norway, and that is a big shock and will do some damage. Into the extra rounds goes Lisa Theresa Hauser, and Suvi Minkkinen is away owing to clean shooting. Ukraine following suit. Now Austria break through.
Wow, and that is really tough for the Norwegian. Tandrevold now twice around the 75-metre penalty loop.
2 extra rounds used for Justine Breza-Boucher, but it is Finland who hand over first. Austria, Simon Eder picking up the charge. Spinelli on his way for Sweden. Scott, you mentioned Ukraine when we were talking before the start of the race as a team that could do something today, riding high off the back of the relay podium, the first in 5 years for the men in Nowe Miesto last week.
Yeah, I can expect to see them shoot very well. They tend to, and certainly with the field today, so much unpredictability with Norway being penalty loop potentials, and as we've seen already, lots of loops, a pole there broken and on the track at the changeover zone. But with there being so many teams likely to visit the penalty loop by my estimation. I think that Ukraine will not be one of them, and therefore will see themselves rise to the top as a consequence.
Yeah, taking a bronze medal here in the single mixed relay in the 18-19 season, and only missing once on that day.
So far, only 4 teams have been around the penalty loop: Estonia, Bulgaria, Norway, and Latvia. And if my estimation's anything to go by, some 15 to 20 will end up of the 24 teams around the penalty loop at some stage.
Jacquelin finding himself down in 5th.
Jacquelin yesterday shooting so well in the stand, hitting 10 out of 10 in the stand, but not just doing that, but doing it quick. 22 seconds in his first visit, then 19 seconds in his second. But what that tells me, even though he managed to get the targets down, he didn't do it in a consistent, rhythmic way, unlike Quentin Fillon-Maillet or Johannes Tingnes-Bo, who are shooting fast but consistent. That's in terms of the timings.
And a real change at the top of the timings for Telo Seppälä. Just 1/10 of a second closed by Dmitry Podruchny. And Jesper Nälin in about the same position that he picked up as well.
These corners, so challenging, and what makes this an exciting race? It's short, it's sharp, it's dynamic, but also it's challenging technically on the skis, not just because biathlon hurts, but because these corners are adding another thing for the biathletes to think about.
Yeah, Maxim Fomin of Lithuania swinging out well wide and doing well to try and stay on the back of Emilien Jacquelin. Tone Skolstad, the Finnish coach, watching on. Norwegian really changing things up and improving the Finnish prospects this season. As Telo Seppälä drops down into the prone position.
Now with Finland, Ukraine, Austria and Sweden all down on the mat, settled at a similar time. The first shot away is by Finland. Seppälä getting 2 down before anybody else fires, but no misses so far from the teams following until Seppälä misses his last shot. Podruchny gets all 5 with 5. Sweden do the same with Eder. Austria with Eder, and then Nälin with Sweden going 5 for 5 as well.
Yep, Switzerland 5 for 5, just Estrello 5 for 5 for Germany. Slovenia and Jakov back away. Norway, Martin Uldal 5 for 5. Moldova, China clean as well. Poland, USA and Campbell Wright having to go into the extra rounds, but only once, while Czechia, who have performed so well in the mixed relay. Champions in 2015, taking a brilliant silver medal at the World Championships this season. Not quite translating yet in the single mixed discipline.
There's some absolutely excellent shooting up towards the front of this field. Ukraine still haven't used a spare round. And among these 3 skiers, Jesper Nälin is the fastest and has the ability to shoot incredibly well, as he's proven in several of the races so far this season. But Podruchny with an 84% hit rate, that's overall, and no distinction really between prone and stand, 83 in standing and 85 in prone.
It has been a very good season for Dmitry Podruchny. Minus 1% skiing in comparison to the average of the field. And Scott, when you look at those stats, they're not on paper truly spectacular, but he's been able to grind out some very good results. He's coming around the outside now is Jesper Nalin.
Yeah, making the move, deciding that he is the fastest amongst this group, perhaps receiving that information from the support staff around the side of the track, and deciding to hurt the field, take advantage of this gap that is ahead of Jacquelin of France, who's a little ways behind. You can actually see Jacquelin using the hill technique quite early at the bottom of the hill, where Jesper Nalin has only just gone into the hill technique, the skate one.
And he hasn't opened up the biggest gap, just 1.9 seconds between the two men in yellow and blue. With Sweden leading from Ukraine, with Simon Eder watching the back of Dmitry Pokljuka. Telo Seppala also glued to the back of the Austrian, with Niklas Hartweg as well working his way up the field and shooting for Switzerland.
Well, Jacquelin skiing very fast. He's closed down 3.4 seconds on Jesper Nalin, and that's just over the course of that kilometre or so. So Jacquelin clearly on a mission to close down the gap and using the ski speed to do so rather than the shooting so far.
It does seem the gap is now beginning to open more. Jesper Nalin still pushing the pace. All back on the skis after taking some time to jog around, stay warm, particularly in these conditions. Just 2 degrees, and the women who are about to take on this next leg, poised and ready to go. One more shooting stage for the men in their first leg. 5 seconds separating the top 5.
The temptation in this single mixed relay is to shoot fast. Small penalty loop, spare rounds, can lead to a false sense of security, but so far so good. Switzerland with Hartweg go 5 for 5 in rapid, quick succession. Austria have a miss, Ukraine have a miss, Sweden also 5 for 5, slightly slower shooting.
Martin Oldal has done great for Norway, 5 for 5. Slovenia and Jakob Fack 5 for 5. Germany away. Right. USA as well, yep, Campbell Wright looking very good. France and Austria left standing only now.
Wow.
Does the 5th go down for France? Austria twice into the extra rounds, and look how much that has shaken this field up. Switzerland leading by just inside, 5 seconds, 4.9 the difference.
Absolutely incredible shooting. On average, I may have to eat my words because the targets are just going down. Canada getting 5 out of 5, Romania 5 out of 5, and Czechia also managing to get their 5 out of 5 with Chesnek.
Well, so far, and it looks like that will stand. The fastest athlete in leg 2 actually going to Martin Oldal. Back second fastest, but 11.6 seconds behind the Norwegian, with Niklas Hartweg, who a brilliant turn of pace after 3 extra rounds used in the first leg for Switzerland, really turning around Switzerland's fortunes, and they do lead.
Would you believe it? Martin Oldal managed to get 5 out of 5 in 12.5 seconds. That is absolutely phenomenal. Hartweg managed to do it in 17.3, and that is also absolutely phenomenal. But 12.5 seconds is revolutionary in biathlon terms.
It's incredible. It's a shame we didn't get to see him in his full flow, or I'm sure there will be some footage of that shared later on. It's so good, isn't it, Scott? After, with of course Johannes Tingesbø retiring at the end of the season, he's been so revolutionary for the sport of biathlon in Norway. To see someone straight away, even before Johannes Tingesbø's retired, to come in and really making a name for himself with his quick shooting.
Yeah, and the way he takes his rifle off is totally different. He swings it over the left shoulder, nothing too uncommon there. But then he holds the rifle, the grip, with his right hand and then loads the magazine with his left hand. Therefore, only needing to just put his left elbow onto his hip before he can start firing. It's so fast, but very technical.
Saite Gaspelan and Switzerland leading through 7.1 kilometres. This is the start of the second leg for the women. Tandrevold 6.7 seconds behind, with Skottheim just behind her, with Ukraine, Slovenia, Finland, Germany, the USA all chasing behind, and Justine Brassard-Boucher has Lisa Theresa Hauser in tow as they look to bridge the gap.
Such an interesting dynamic already. The top 10, just 21 seconds separating them. And if there's 20 seconds in it, then there's essentially no gap, because so much of that can change or be affected just by the psychology of leading. It can be quite high pressure for the likes of Gasperin, who now has to maintain composure despite being hunted down by so many world champions, Olympic medalists. It's a tough field behind her.
Tandrevold starting to put some distance between her and Skottheim. It's a new pairing for Sweden. Skottheim's first single mixed relay of the season. And into a final prone shoot comes Saite Gaspelan.
Very high pressure moment now for the Swiss.
They have had success in this event before, not so much this season, but 2 fourth place finishes, including at the World Championships.
Gasperin, one of the best shooters in the field. 89% hit rate in prone, and she's showing that to be the case right now with 4 out of 5. She gets 5. Great shooting from Gasperin.
Yep, an advantage Switzerland as well, because it's 2 misses to Norway and Ingrid Landmark Tandrevold, who have to dip into the extra rounds at least twice. Sweden now away. Finland and Suvi Minkkinen looking good until that miss. USA and Deidre Irwin going well. Austria, Germany 5 for 5. And now Tandrevold can get onto her skis. The 2 extra rounds, enough.
Finland also going clear, so fantastic shooting on average, incredibly good shooting, and there's barely any wind to speak of. But 12 seconds now with Skottheim of Sweden behind Gasperin of Switzerland.
Yeah, and look at that. The gap coming into shooting 5 was 6.5 seconds. That was between Gaspelan and Tandrevold. And now Gaspelan leading Skottheim by 12 seconds, so that gap almost doubling.
And so good for USA. Now coming into the range, 18.4 seconds down, leaving 21 seconds down, but in 3rd place. Testament to fantastic controlled shooting from Irvin, but also the team collectively only dipping into spares 3 times.
Yeah, it's been a long time since the USA had a team on the podium in the single mixed relay. 3rd in Novo Miesto in the 2021 season, took 2nd in Kontiolahti in 2016-17, and particularly when you look at this team with Campbell Wright having so many good performances this season, particularly at the World Championships, but then also Deidre Irwin even having some really good legs in relays and some good individual performances as well. I think a lot of people are wondering when this USA team would arrive in the single mixed relay in particular, and certainly today could be the day, although dropping off the podium is Irwin.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, I would say. There's no need to try and maintain the pace of Tandrevold, who, as we've seen, is in incredible form. She really showed that in her victory at Novo Miesto. So contending with that upper ski speed is really at the cost of control in the shooting range. And so much of the racing here depends on accurate and fast shooting. same would apply to Gasparin, who, although skis very well, 1% faster than the average in the field, there's no need to try and maintain a gap. The shooting can speak for itself for the Swiss today, and Hartweg also an incredible shot, a fast one too.
We speak about athletes having to, particularly in this event, Scott, run their own race, and that's what Ita Gasparin will have to do now when you look at the talent behind her rallying. She will still hold a significant gap, and it will be more than the 12 seconds that she left the range with. Up to 15 seconds now as Scotty only just comes through the time check. 3 seconds ahead of Tandrevold.
Great skiing there from Erwin, still doing so well, maintaining 19.7 seconds, actually gaining time on the lead. And then Breza Boucher, 32.5 seconds back. That's after having come out the range 37.5, so clawing back time on the lead. But the French, they've not been on around the loop, only using 7 spares. We would certainly expect them under those conditions to be somewhere near the sharp end of the race. Hauser just taking advantage of Tandrevold's pace and line, tucking in behind her and allowing her to do the hard work.
So into the range for one final time. To Gasparin, who will hand over to Niklas Hartweg, who was on the team back in the 22-23 season when he took the silver medal in Nowe Miesto. He watches on. Healthy lead. Starts with a miss though.
That's tough. But she's managed to regain control. The next 3 go down and the 4th does too. So now 1 target remaining for Gasparin as Sweden with Skottheim manages to get the first 3 down.
Oh, that's brilliant from Skottheim. And Sweden will lead out of the range, closely followed by Switzerland, Norway once again. Tandrevold with 2 misses. USA with a miss, another miss for Norway. France with a miss as well. Germany and Austria now away.
And France have now got it. Breza Boucher is going to be fighting to close that gap and handing over, of course, to Jacquelin, who has to do the rest of the work.
Once again, though, 2 penalty loops for Ingrid Landmark-Tandrevold in the stand position. It's just giving Martin Oldal so much work to do, Scott.
Wow, and it's so difficult per Tandrevold. The psychology of these races are so tough for her, and she overcomes it, as we saw in the sprint in Nowe Mesto. She's very capable, but that's psychologically extremely hard for her to deal with, and Oldal watching her will undoubtedly be putting her under no pressure. Poland 5 out of 5 in their visit to the shooting range. Good shooting from them. China likewise.
At least once around the penalty loop for Czechia, limiting the damage. Moldova using 2 extra rounds. Slovakia just won 2 penalty loops now for Czechia. Finch handing over to Jakob Fak. Home snow for one final time.
A job well done for Gasparin, who managed to really maintain that control despite an early miss. She pulled it back together and has done everything she needed to set up Hartweg for his final leg. 3 laps, of course.
2.5 seconds separating Sweden and Switzerland at exchange 3. 10.9 seconds back is Austria. Germany hot on their heels.
Now, for Jesper Nelin, it's quite uncommon, I would say, in a relay circumstance, or at least for a long time, to have such a controlled and comfortable lead, but also competition. The likes of Hartweg, of course, being so good, but with the French further down the order, the Germans, the Norwegians, it's looking very good for the Swedes.
Yeah, look at just how quick Emilien Jacquelin is climbing. He was 7 seconds behind Germany when they left the exchange, and now he's leapfrogged both Germany and Austria and finds himself just 18 seconds behind the Swede.
Now, with that incredibly fast pace on the tracks, with the urge to repeat his shooting yesterday in the mass start, the perfect 10 out of 10 or 19 out of 20 overall, but 10 out of 10 in stand, I am worried that he's going to want so much to replicate that form that could undermine his shooting. A huge pressure moment now for Jesper Nelin.
Looks over his shoulder, quick check. That's the wind flags as well as the proximity to Niklas Hartweg. Looking fairly still in the range, Scott. Once again, we haven't got a wind reading.
Incredibly fast shooting there from Hartweg, who gets 4 out of 4, and then 5 out of 5, although the graphics were split there. Jesper Nelin missing 1.
That's truly superb from the Swiss man, who has now a very comfortable advantage. Nelin missing again, and that opens the door for Justus Strelo. Another miss for Emilien Jacquelin. 2 misses for Austria and Simon Eder. The battle for third place, well, it's just who can limit the misses now, and it is France.
Oh, just a miss there from Wright, but that was a door open opportunity. He's got 3 spares and he gets it with the first very quickly. Uldal now in for Norway, and he's got the first 3 targets down, looking to be shooting very quickly. 4 go down, and now 5 go down for Uldal. He's on chase mode. Italy get 5 for 5, and so too do Slovenia.
For the gap at the top, just look at that. 18.3 seconds, Niklas Hartweg leads over Jesper Nelin. Well, it's been a season, and particularly a World Championships, of almost some what-ifs for Niklas Hartweg. Struggling with injury and illness over summer. Unable to secure Switzerland just that one medal that they wanted so desperately at a home World Championships, and this, well, with 1 week to go of the season, would be ending it on a very big high.
Hartweg is skiing very well. He was 10 seconds down on his first lap, and that was on his first leg as well. And then he was only 3.8 seconds down on Campbell Wright's fastest time on lap 2 of leg 1. So Hartweg clearly in good skiing form, but also hitting the targets accurately and incredibly quickly. It's looking very good for Switzerland now as they approach the final shoot.
Bronze medal here in the 22-23 season, also taking silver in Nove Mesto that season. Since then, they haven't featured on the podium in a single mixed relay. And a huge opportunity today, but Jesper Nelin, buoyed by a brilliant performance, the second best performance of his career yesterday in the mass start, and a mass start that he wasn't expecting to be in necessarily. As part of the reserve list, a late call-up, finishing with a flower ceremony and a well-deserved one.
It's becoming iconic, that Campbell Wright technique, something like Benedict Dahl's technique, which we missed so much. But now take a look at that. Nelin losing 7 seconds to Hartweg on this lap till this point so far.
That's exactly what Nicholas Hartweg needs to do, Scott. He doesn't want to be in a position where he puts a medal, if not a victory here, at risk on the line.
He is skiing so fast.
Yeah.
So incredibly fast that he's taken 7 seconds off Jacquelin as well. He's taken 7 seconds off Campbell Wright. Now, is he skiing too fast? Is the adrenaline of the moment now for Hartweg, being at the very front of this race with such a lead, causing him to ski just a little bit too fast to be able to control the shooting?
Well, he's going so fast. He's come into shooting 8, the final shoot, and only 10 of the athletes have actually gone through the 11.6 kilometre mark. Here he is, though. Nicholas Hartweg for the win and for Switzerland's first podium in a single mixed relay on the World Cup since 2023.
It's fast shooting. There's the first miss. Wow.
2 misses, 3 extra rounds.
And now some pressure. Soon, Nellin will land on the track, but there's a lot of movement at the end of his rifle. He needs to breathe and he needs to settle.
2 extra rounds. And he only needs 1 of them. And surely that is victory for the very first time in a single mixed relay for Switzerland.
Phenomenal shooting. And now
a brilliant battle behind, and look at Germany and Justus Strelo go. And that is why you put him in a single mixed relay team. France have a miss, Sweden have a miss.
And amazing there from Jacquelin. Sweden now having to battle it out on the skis, but Jacquelin shooting so quickly. USA, they go clear, Austria clear, so it's going to be a big battle on the skis, but Strelo, losing time in the previous laps to Nellin, is going to have his work cut out to maintain a silver.
Yeah, Justus Strelo is not safe either when you look at what we know Emilien Jacquelin could do. The shooting's out the way now, final lap to go on the skis, and he's just 4 seconds behind Jesper Nellin. Top spot more than decided, 17 seconds ahead of the chasing pack behind is Nicholas Hartweg as he came out of shooting 8. But the battle for the rest of the podium far from over. As you see, the 3 men in contention for that. But Tello Seppälä joining onto the back now of Emilien Jacquelin, the Finn, trying to throw down a big final lap. But it is currently advantage Germany and Sweden.
And this is a tough moment for Strelo, being chased by the Swede and by the Frenchman. And look, his legs are tired, he's stumbling and he's fumbling and unable to keep with the pace of Jesper Nellin.
And the one person you don't want to see behind, Emilien Jacquelin on a charge. He still feels like he's got plenty to prove and has many happy memories of competing here over the years. The gap, you can just see the difference in the form as well as they come up this climb, Scott. It's not a particularly steep one at this point, but the difference in the speed between the German, the Swede and the Frenchman.
Well, it appears that Seppälä is actually trying to close down and perhaps even pass Jacquelin of France. He's managed to get the gap down to almost nothing as Jesper Nellin takes a look over his shoulder to acknowledge the fact that Jacquelin is unable to close the gap thus far. Seppälä going right past the Frenchman.
And look at Tero Seppälä go into the steep part of this climb. Jesper Nellin looking laboured. Campbell Wright isn't out of this yet. Well into the closing stages through 13.1 kilometres, 19 seconds now. Jesper Nellin falls behind the leader, Nicholas Hartweg. And Tello Seppälä is on a charge.
Wow, that is fast skiing, and I would not have expected Seppälä to manage to get past Jacquelin, but also Strelo, who's fallen way off the pace. He's going to get absorbed by Campbell Wright and perhaps even threatened by Austria with Eder.
There just seems something special about this combination of Suvi Minkkinen and Tello Seppälä. As he flies around the corner, and Emilien Jacquelin just can't match him at all. carries his pace so well around the bends, does Telo Seppälä.
Seppälä really trying to then hunt down the Swede, but there's not enough ground with which to do it.
For the very first time on the World Cup, Switzerland win a single mixed relay. A brilliant performance from Niklas Hartweg and Aita Gaspalan to take top spot. Sweden take the silver medal. A new duo, and Finland rallying with Telo Seppälä to take the bronze. Emilian Jacquelin couldn't quite find enough. Campbell Wright across the line in fifth, and Just Estrela well and truly running out of gas on the final lap. But a brilliant performance for Switzerland. Back on the podium in a single mixed relay for the first time since 2023, and a sprint finish just won by Jakob Fack. His final race on home snow here in Pokljuka, retiring at the end of the Olympic season, and wanting to go out with a little bit of a battle between him and Martin Oldal, with the Slovenian coming out on top. Italy across the line in 10th. Well, Scott, we didn't know what to expect from this Swedish duo, but certainly acquitting themselves very well in the single mixed relay to take the silver medal.
Absolutely incredible. It's not an outcome that I would have predicted. We knew that the Swiss team are incredibly accurate shooters and relied on that today, but only to some extent, managing to pull out incredible skiing performances as well. And that's in tandem with the fact that the French were not there on the skis today. Their waxing conditions perhaps letting them down somewhat, but Germany, something the same could be said for them. Strelo apparently having very slow skis, but also really struggling with what appeared to be cramping legs.
All about Switzerland, and particularly the job done. Well, you have to say both of them, but the attack at the right time, Niklas Hartweg really drawing the field out and leaving nothing to chance. He points to where his watch would sit, and you have to say, about time for Switzerland to have come so close to a podium this season. So desperate to perform well, a season where they hosted the World Championships for the very first time, were there and thereabouts, and have done enough with the final mixed relay of the season to finish on top spot.
Incredibly accurate shooting collectively from the racers today. I estimated 2/3 would be on the loop, but only 1/3 on the loop when all is said and done.
Zachary Connolly across the line for Canada in 16th. Thierry Longa bringing Belgium across the line, avoiding the penalty loop, 10 extra rounds used.
Norway having the most difficulty on the shooting range. That was 4 penalty loops, 10 rounds used, and most of them came unfortunately from Tangervold.
Kazakhstan with just 4 extra rounds used as Karalis brings them across the line. Bulgaria having a very contrasting day in the range, 15 extra rounds used and 2 penalty loops. And a shrug of the shoulders from Sinopov. Tough day in the range, but a brilliant performance from Switzerland, their first single mixed relay win on the World Cup. Back on the podium for the first time since the 22-23 season. And a result that this season you felt was always coming. It would just take the right day. Sweden taking the silver medal, just 4 extra rounds used, a brilliant shooting day. And Telo Seppälä rallying incredibly well to put Finland on the podium for the second time this season.
Team Switzerland, congratulations. That was amazing, and it was actually the first relay win for Switzerland at all. Aita, how does it feel? And you made a history today with your partner.
Yeah, this is so great. In Switzerland we were so small, and to have a World Cup win is so important, especially after the World Championships where we were always so close to the medals, so it means a lot to us.
How nervous were you?
I must say I was more nervous to watch Niklas. I'm still now trembling on my entire body, but at the same time I trusted him that he can do it.
Niklas, perfect prone, but then at the standing you made a bit of a drama. How was it there? What was going through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, it would have been too perfect to shoot zero the whole race. So, I mean, it was mandatory for the last shooting for some mistakes to happen. I tried to shoot fast. You know, if you shoot fast, you don't have time to think. And then when you start reloading, everything starts slowing down. So, on the last shot, I think you saw the legs were starting to shake a little bit. It's quite tough if you ski all out at the top, come and have a long break and have to shoot standing. So, the legs were shaking. It was not easy, but we got the bullets in. And now we're here and won the race, so what can I say?
You did an amazing job, guys. Congratulations again. Enjoy it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Well, Scott, a brilliant interview. We don't always get the pairs together, and but I think with such a day that will go down in history in Switzerland, their first relay win, their first single mixed relay win. It's been a long time coming, as Aita Gaspalan said there. Of course, her and her sisters have been part of really driving the standards forward, particularly in terms of the relays in biathlon in Switzerland for a very long time, as we see a look at the Mixed Relay World Cup scores. And it is France who still lead Sweden, but only by 6 points. It will come down to the race that's just an hour or so away. The mixed relay, of course, contributing to these points as well as the single mixed relay. But Scott, brilliant what she said there, particularly about the nerves of watching Niklas. We hear that so often from the biathletes, that they're quite happy and content doing their own race. It's when they're stood there watching and waiting where the nerves actually start to show.
It's probably because it's out of their control. Biathletes are so used to training by themselves and rising and falling on their own merit, but when you are partnered up, suddenly you have absolutely no impact on the outcome.
So Sweden with the silver medal, closing the gap on France, who finished just off the podium in fourth, and 6 points will be the difference going into the final race of the weekend here in Pokljuka. And Scott, a quick look at the Women's Nation Cup score. France still leading from Sweden, but Norway down in fourth.
And Sweden and Germany are looking like they're going to have a battle that's going to go right to the line as well. Of course, the ranking there for the Nation Cup having significance in many different ways in terms of who gets how many start numbers, but also just Norway being in fourth is a really telling piece of information that hopefully their national teams will take back and work on. The development starts at the very bottom, the youth.
Different picture in the men's though. Norway still trailing France by 211 points, but ahead of Sweden and Germany.
I think it's interesting that the Norwegian team, we have so many new names with Botten, Uldal, Bakken, like lots of names coming up, and the same with the French. But you don't really have that with the Swedish team. We're relying on the performances of those who performed back in 2018, essentially, with the odd exception of a couple such as Heidenberg. So many fans from Germany, you could hear them as Fellow was shooting, supporting every single shot and cheering the hits. As the targets went down so easily, he would have been gutted with his ski speed on that final lap.
Guy to take it over the shoulders up there, yeah. Thank you. Congrats.
Well, the athletes gathering ready for the podium ceremony. Well, Scott, one of the things that we speak about a lot is the opportunities given to the smaller nations through the single mixed relay. One of the things that I love to see as well, not just the variety overall in the start list with 24 able to put teams out today, but the variety that we see grace the podium as well.
It's what makes this discipline so interesting, and we saw the big nations, or the ones that we expect to be at the top, fielding teams that perhaps were less likely to do well today, and as a result it allowed a nation to come up that has never been up there before, with Switzerland rising to the top.
In a season where they hosted the World Championships in a combined format for the very first time, and came so close to standing on the podium there, gracing so many flower ceremonies. It's so fitting that Switzerland today get their moment And really tops off a season of a lot of hard work for Niklas Hartveg and Aita Gasperlin. A second single mixed relay podium of the World Cup season for Telo Seppälä and Suvi Minkkinen. A bronze medal to add to Suvi Minkkinen's collection for the season, and a pairing that has proved very successful both on the World Cup and in events elsewhere. Winners in Oberhof, and rounding out the season in terms of the single mixed relays with a podium here in Pokljuka, avoiding the penalty loop, and 9 extra rounds used today. An excellent final lap from Telo Seppälä to force his way onto the podium.
Second place on the shots.
Untested this season as a pairing on the World Cup in the single mixed relay, but doing enough to take the silver medal. A very good week for Jesper Nälin here in Pokljuka, and joined on the podium by Johanna Skottheim. And their effort as well, closing the gap in the battle for the mixed relay discipline. And France just 6 points now, separating the two at the top of the table.
Our snow cover still open, so all the moisture getting into the barrel, upsetting all of the biathlon maintenancers out there.
Plenty screaming at their screens right now.
Who's the snow cover?
But that's the racing for the weekend done for Johanna Skottheim, and a silver medal for the Swedish team. Well, two popular winners. A lot of respect for what the Swiss team have done this season. So regularly, narrowly missing out on podiums. And they make their first podium in a relay. Of course, it's on top spot. Their first relay victory on the World Cup, the first single mixed relay victory, and first podium of the season. Leaving it late, but going out on a high. Aita Gasperlin and Niklas Hartveg. Well, Scott, it was a race that was perfectly put together by both of these athletes, and so well brought home by Niklas Hartveg.
Shooting incredibly fast, incredibly accurately. And just at the very end, he said his legs were shaking, and it's so hard to shoot when you've got shaking legs for obvious reasons. But he held it together well and got them with the spares.
Switzerland taking top spot for the very first time. Sweden settled for silver, but closed the gap on France in the mixed relay discipline. Finland, a brilliant bronze and a second medal for this duo this season. So at single mixed relay that was full of drama and plenty of snow. We will be back at 10 to 3 Central European time for full coverage of the mixed relay.